Today, I want to show you how I created this simple website using CMS data and then publish it to my own custom domain all inside Aura. What I really like about this kind of setup is that the whole site is in HTML. So it's perfect for things like a personal portfolio, a product showcase, resource hub, a landing page, or even a simple creator website. Basically, it works really well for anything that mostly needs to display content in a clean and organized way without needing heavy backend logic or more advanced app features. So for example, if you want a site to represent your work, share free resources, collect links, highlight products, or build a personal brand, this kind of websites makes a lot of sense. But if you need something more complex, like user accounts, private dashboard, advanced search, payment, or a lot of custom backend functionality, then you'll probably want something more advanced than a simple HTML-based site. For my own page, I wanted one place where I could share everything I've created publicly. I noticed that on LinkedIn, people sometimes go back to older posts to find files or resources I've shared before. So I thought, instead of making people scroll through old posts, why not create one simple place where they can find everything easily? That way, if someone follows me, then they can just go to one page and browse all my resources, all my free file, my templates, and my video workflows in one place. At the same time, it also helps me build my personal brand. And the nice thing is, this page was generated in just one day. Of course, over time, I'll probably improve it, redesign parts of it, and make it better. But honestly, this felt like a great way to test Aura's new built-in CMS feature using my own real content, especially since I already have a lot of material to work with. So in this video, I'll show you a simple way to create your own personal website in a similar way. So let's get started. So before I begin, I first browsed the web to find inspiration to get a clearer idea of how I wanted my page to look. I wanted something simple, practical, and easy to navigate so people could find everything quickly without getting lost. Eventually, I came across this website that I thought looked really nice. It was simple, minimal, and well structured. It had that kind of layout I wanted for my own page. So what I did was save a full screenshot of that website as a PNG. You can do that by going to File and Save As and use PNG as the format. At the time of this recording, this feature was only available for Safari, so it doesn't work on Chrome. Once I had a screenshot, I used ChatGPT as my design assistant. Even though I already have a direction in my mind, I still like using ChatGPT because it helped me think through details I might not think of my own. So I uploaded the screenshot and gave it a prompt like analyze this layout carefully because I want to create something similar for myself. Then I explain what I do. I create AI design workflow for YouTube. I share free files through LinkedIn posts. And I wanted a simple but well-designed page where people could easily access everything I've made. From there, ChatGPT gave me a pretty detailed analysis of the layout. And by the way, you don't have to use ChatGPT, that's just my personal preference. I just find it really strong overall, and one thing I personally love is the dictate feature because I can just talk naturally instead of typing every thought. I can literally say whatever is on my mind and it turns it into text. So it almost feels like you're talking to someone helping you think through the whole process. So that saves me a lot of time. So after that, I read through all the suggestions, kept the parts I like, rejected what I didn't, and iterated from there. In this case, I agreed with most of the direction, so the next step for me was simple. Just create the foundation of the landing page. And it doesn't need to be perfect on the first try, I just want a solid starting point. So I asked it to generate a detailed prompt for the first version of the page. Then I copied that full prompt and pasted it into Aura since that's the tool I'm using here for both the built-in CMS and the custom domain publishing. And this was the first result. You can already see it has some resemblance to the original inspiration, but the styling, colors, and overall personality are still very generic. But that's completely fine because getting the first structure in place is the most important part. From there, enhancing it actually is much easier than starting from nothing. From that first iteration, there are different ways you can improve the design. One option is to just keep prompting the AI and guide it section by section. That's actually what I used to do a lot when I first started using AI for design. But I noticed pretty quickly that I almost never got a perfect result on the first try. Some section would still feel too generic, and if your prompt isn't specific enough, you can end up doing a lot of back and forth just to get something that feels right. So over time, I changed my approach. Instead of trying to generate everything from scratch every time, I started using pre-made components from the component library. In Aura, there are more than 2,300 components you can reuse, which makes the whole process a lot faster. And the nice thing is, even if a component doesn't exactly match your theme at first, that's not really a problem. You can still use the same layout structure and then adapt the styling so it fits your page. So for example, when I was looking for a hero section, I found one that I thought would work really well for my website. So I decided to use that as a base. Then for the featured work section, which is the second section on the page, I wanted something that could highlight one main project clearly. So I picked a layout with a large image, a title, a description, and a button to view the work. That structure felt perfect for what I wanted to show. Then back in the chat box, I simply told it to adapt the hero section and I referenced the exact component I had chosen. So you just need to click on the add sign and then you browse through. You go to component and then you search for exactly the component you found and you just insert it in your prompt. What's nice here is that the AI understands the context of your current layout and applies that component to your existing page. So even though the original component was in light mode, once it was adapted into my page, it automatically shifted into dark mode and kept the same overall font and color direction. I did the same thing for the template section. I found another component I like, use it as a reference, and adapt it into the page. So now the template section becomes a really simple way to showcase different files with an image, a title, a description, and a link. At that point, I was pretty happy with this second iteration. So what I did next was download the HTML and upload it back into ChatGPT. I like doing that because it gives the AI the full context of the page, which makes the feedback and edits much more accurate. Then I asked it to help me refine a color palette and suggest font pairing that would fit the direction of my page. Once we agreed on the color and typography, I just asked it to update the navigation using that style direction. So after reading through the recommendation, I confirmed the color palette and font pairing I wanted to use, and then I gave it the exact changes I wanted for the navigation menu. At that point, ChatGPT gave me the updated code for that section. So I just copied the new navigation code, went into code mode, replaced that part of the layout, and just like that, the navigation was updated. And the nice thing is, I don't need to keep prompting back and forth inside Aura for that part because I handle the code update directly through my ChatGPT subscription. So that means no prompt is used. From there, it's really just an iteration process. You keep refining things until the page feels right. So I tweak it a little bit more, and this is the final result. Both CTA buttons are working. The subscribe button links to my YouTube channel, and the follow me button links to my LinkedIn profile. In this demo, you can fully see that one because I'm not logged in, but the link is there. After that, I move on to the hero section because I wanted to give the page a little more life. At that point, the layout was clean, but it still felt a bit generic to me. So one easy way to make it feel more polished is to add an animated background. Inside Aura, if you go to the asset panel, you get access to a large library of animated assets coming from tools like Unicorn Studio and Spline. I remembered seeing one animation with this rotating play button effect, and I felt it matched the overall vibe of my lengthy page very well, so I decided to test it. And that ended up being the one I use. A useful thing to know here is that if you don't select a specific container first and you add the animated asset directly from the asset panel, it gets applied to the main view. By default, that background is fixed, which means it stays in place while the rest of the content scrolls over it. You also get a lot of control to fine-tune the look of the animation. You can adjust things like hue, blur, saturation, brightness, and opacity. So it's pretty easy to tone it down or make it blend better with your layout. Usually I just tweak those settings until the animation feels subtle enough and doesn't overpower the content. One important thing to understand is the positioning mode. If you keep it set to fixed, the animation stays in place while the page scrolls. But if you switch to absolute, then the animation scrolls away with the section and disappears as the contents move. So depending on the effect you want, you just choose the mode that makes the most sense. Now that the animated background is in place, the hero section is already in good shape. At this point, it only needs a few small tweaks, like updating the headline and subtitles so they sound a bit more casual, adjusting some of the tags, and making sure the whole section matches the color palette and font pairing I chose earlier. So here I just ask for the updated code, copy it, select the hero section, and replace the old version with the new one. And now you can see everything feels much more consistent. The fonts, the colors, and overall style are all starting to come together. At this point, it's almost where I want it to be. The only thing left is swapping the two images so they fit my vibe better and reducing the intensity of the background animation a little bit. So now we're ready to move on to the feature work section. Once again, the process is pretty much the same. You move to the next section, tell the AI exactly what you want to change, give it your specification, and then see what kind of result you get back. Of course, the actual changes will be different for everyone depending on the kind of page you want to build, but the workflow itself stays the same. So after giving my instruction, I copy the code and check the result. This version is already closed, but is still missing a few things. For example, I want the image to be full width, and I want the layout to feel a bit more polished overall. So I iterate one more time, replace the code again, and now the section is nicely centered and the container fits much better with the rest of the page. By now, you can probably see the pattern. The reason I like using an external AI tool for this part is because I already have a paid subscription, so I can use it to refine the code and get strong results without burning through too many prompts inside Aura. Because if you use Aura for every single iteration, those prompts can go pretty quickly, especially if you don't get the result you want right away and need to keep retrying. You could probably still do this with a free plan depending on the tool you use, but if you're iterating a lot, you'll hit those limits pretty fast. So now I'm copying the updated code again and testing another version. Still not perfect, but that's normal. And that's something to keep in mind with this whole process. Don't expect the perfect result immediately. Sometimes the issue is just that your instructions weren't specific enough, or the AI misunderstood one part of what you wanted. But even here, it's already getting close. The section intro is centered, the structure is there, and I still have the title, the description, the tag, and the buttons. It's just not exactly how I picture it yet. So I refine it one more time, replace that section again, and now the card looks exactly how I want it. At this point, I still need to add a few more sections, like my free templates, my paid templates, my video section, and the about section. But for the rest of this video, I'm not going to go through every single one because the process is exactly the same. You go section by section, explain what you want, replace the code, refine if needed, and keep going until everything feels right. Now we're ready to populate those sections with real content instead of manually adding cards one by one. So let's start with the free files section. But before that, I noticed one small detail I forgot. On the card, I already had a download button so people could get the file, but I also wanted a second button that links directly to the LinkedIn post where I originally shared it. So I quickly added that, and now the card is ready. At this point, we can finally populate the section using Aura's built-in CMS feature. Now, if you're not familiar with CMS, it simply stands for Content Management System. The easiest way to think about it is this. A CMS is a place where you store and organize your content, so your website can automatically display it for you. So instead of manually copying and pasting every title, image, description, and link to every card, you put that information into the CMS once, and then the layout pulls the data from there. It's basically a much cleaner and faster way to manage repeating content on a website. So on the left top corner, you're going to see the CMS feature. Click on it, and you'll land on an empty collection screen. I haven't explored the AI side of the CMS yet, so for now, I'm just using the simple manual approach. So first, click Add to create a new collection. Now, in simple terms, a collection is just a group of similar content. So for example, if you have free file, that can be one collection. Paid templates can be another collection. Video can be another. Think of a collection like a category or like a folder that holds a specific type of content. The title doesn't really matter too much here, as long as it makes sense for your project. Then click the check mark and your collection is created. Now click into that collection and you'll see that it's empty at first. Before adding any content, click on the settings icon and create all the fields that match the content in your card layout. For my case, I obviously need a title. There's also a slug field. I'm not really using that in my project for now, so I just skip it. Then I add an image field because that matches the image area of my card. Then I add a description field, which will be the text underneath the title. After that, I add a type field because I want to categorize my content. For example, some posts are about AI design, some are about layouts, some are about animation, and some are about design systems. Then I add two link fields for the button. One is for the download button, so I set that as a URL field where I can paste the file link. And the second one is for the post link, which will open the original LinkedIn post. I renamed that one to just link, and that's also a URL field. Now it's time to add our first item. An item is just one single piece of content inside your collection. So if the collection is your folder, the item is one entry inside that folder. For example, one free file card equals one item. One template equals one item. One video entry equals one item. So this is the part where there's still some manual work, because even though the CMS help you display the content automatically, you still have to enter your own data first. The AI doesn't know which file titles or links you personally want to include. So here I pick an image for now, add a title, add the description, choose the type, paste the download link, and then paste the publication link. And just like that, my first item is created. One important thing to know is that if your website is not published yet, you might still see all your items in your editor. But on the live published website, only the items that are actually marked as published will appear. So make sure you check them and save them properly. Otherwise, they won't show up on the real site. So now my first item is done. I'm going to fast forward a little here because I already created all my collection. At this point, I have 5 different collection total. So I go back into my free file collection, and now you can see I've added 16 items. And this is where the magic really starts to happen, if everything is set up properly. First, go back into design mode and select the container that holds your card layout. This part is important. In the layers panel, you need to select the outer div that contains the full card structure. If you only select the article itself, it may not work properly. That's how I got it working on my site. So once the outer container is selected, go into collection loop and click bind to collection. Then choose the collection you want to connect. In this case, since I'm working on the free file section, I choose my free file collection. And right away, you'll see multiple copies of the same placeholder card appear. In my case, I had 16 items, so it instantly generated 16 duplicates of the original card structure. At first, they still all look the same because the layout is there, but the fields are not connected yet. So the next step is to bind each part of the card to the correct CMS field. For example, I select the small label that says something like layout, and I bind that text to the type field. As soon as I do that, you can already see the card start changing. Some now say layout, some say design system, some say animation. That's how you know it's working. Then I bind the title text to the title field. I bind the description text to the description field. Then I connect the download button to the download URL field and the view post button to the link field. For some reason, the image didn't update properly for me right away. I think it may have been a bug because I duplicated the original landing page before doing this. But normally, the image should bind the same way too. Even with that small issue, you can already see that all 16 cards are now unique. Each one has its own category, title, description, download link, and post link. After that, I made one final small tweak. For now, I use a LinkedIn image as a placeholder, and I might replace those later depending on the type of resource. And I also adjusted the original card layout so the download and view buttons always stay aligned at the bottom. That part matters because I don't want the button jumping around depending on how long the title or description is. This way, even if the text length changes from card to card, the buttons stay visually aligned and the whole section feels much cleaner. So that's basically how you inject data into your layout using the CMS. Now let me quickly go through the same process one more time using my premium template section. First, you select the outer container that holds the full card layout. Then you click bind to collection, and this time I'm selecting my templates collection. As soon as I do that, you'll see a lot of duplicated cards appear automatically because in that collection, I have around 27 items. So at that point, the structure is already there. What's left is just connecting each part of the card to the right field. So first, I select the title and bind it to the title field. Then I select the description and bind it to the description field. After that, I select the view template button and connect it to the link field. And for the image, you just scroll a little lower in the settings until you find the image field. Then you click the icon, bind it properly, and this time it works exactly as expected. Now, all of my template entries are connected. So the layout stays fully consistent and each card automatically displays its own image, title, description, and button link to the right template inside Aura. And if I click on any of those buttons, it opens the matching template. So that's really the beauty of Aura's built-in CMS. You don't need to rely on a third-party service, and for this kind of project, it makes building a full website surprisingly simple. So at this point, I've added my premium template section, which includes multi-page templates, not just single landing pages. The buy button links directly to my Lemon Squeezy page. I also added the video workflow section, which links to the YouTube videos where I share my AI design workflows. And now for the last part, I want to show you how to connect your website to a real custom domain. Because instead of keeping the default Aura subdomain, you can publish the whole thing to your own domain name. For me, I bought my domain name through name.com, but there are obviously many other services where you can do the same thing. So inside Aura, under the publish setting, there's a custom domain tab where you can enter your domain name. Once you do that, Aura gives you the DNS records you need to add inside your domain provider settings. So on the domain side, you search for the name you want, and just keep in mind that prices can vary a lot depending on the extension. Some domains can be pretty cheap and others can get expensive very quickly. Luckily, I was able to find one that matched my name and what I wanted without paying a crazy price. Once the domain is purchased, you'll see it appear in your account. Then the next step is to go into the domain settings, open the DNS management section, and add the records Aura gives you. In my case, Aura provided two records types, an A record and a CNAME record. You can simply copy those values and paste them into the correct DNS fields. Those fields will probably be empty, so you just create new records, choose the right type, add the host, and then paste the value Aura gives you. Once that's done, save the records. And if everything is configured properly, your custom domain should be connected pretty quickly. Then once you publish the site, entering your personal domain should open the exact website you just created with all your CMS data already connected. And that's it. Now you have your own personal website built in less than a day, and it stays really easy to manage later on. So if you ever want to redesign a section, add new content, remove old content, or update links, you can do all of that without rebuilding the whole site. And what I really like here is that everything was done inside one tool. So overall, I think this is a really simple and practical workflow if you want to create a personal website, a creator hub, or a place where your audience can easily find everything you've shared. I hope this gives you some ideas and encourage you to build your own version. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to leave a like or a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.